Buenos días, buenas tardes, señores. Nuevamente aquí en otro webinar más de Polaris Controls. Hoy tenemos el gusto y el placer de tener a los amigos de ProAudio Technology y Theory Audio Design como presentadores. Hemos tenido una gran mañana enfocada más que todo en el mundo hi-fi. Tuvimos la marca Rotel, seguida por Sonus Faber, seguida por Project. Y ahora vamos a tener tres marcas muy importantes. Empecemos con la primera. Ellos se especializan en el mundo de audio. Tienen teatros súper potentes. Pueden hacer muchas cosas con ellos. Tienen subwoofers de 21 pulgadas, etcétera. Sistemas de amplificación para sus equipos. Así que estén pendientes, una marca que les estamos trayendo a ustedes, nueva también, añadida al portafolio. Nosotros pensamos que el mundo de hi-fi y el mundo de los teatros va a volver a tomar fuerza por todo esto de la pandemia. Los teatros comerciales probablemente van a cambiar un poco su formato y esto es un buen momento para todos nosotros meternos en este género. Así que aquí empezamos con esto. Con nosotros está Paul Hales, que es el presidente y fundador de ProAudio Technology y Theory Design Audio. Está también Aaron Phillips y está Mark Goldman también de la empresa. Sin más por el momento, los dejo con ellos. Paul, all you.
All me? Okay, thanks, Ariel.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it. Yeah. Okay, thanks everyone for joining to learn about Pro and Theory. We have a lot to talk about. These presentations that I've based this on were originally designed to be 1 hour each. So I've had to condense them down, and we're going to have to move through them pretty quickly in order to cover everything in 1 hour. So I'm going to be going fast. When I come to something that I think is particularly valuable, I'll linger on it and emphasize it. Other than that, I'm going to be kind of moving along here. So anyway, hopefully you're familiar with ProAudio technology, or if you're not, we'll give you some background and let you know exactly who we are and what we do and why we do it. So, you know, one of the things that I think kind of escapes people, and I'm not sure why, is audio has not evolved very, very rapidly. In fact, it's hardly evolved at all in the last 5 decades or so. So the TVs you're watching right now and the telephones you're using are likely very different than what you had a couple decades ago. But that just isn't true about audio systems, right? They're largely unchanged. So in 1970, this is what a supercomputer looked like. It took up an entire room. This is the supercomputer at a Lawrence Livermore laboratory, not too far from where I grew up in California. And now in 2021, we have essentially the same computing power in our pockets. So we literally carry around a supercomputer in our pockets. 1970, this is what a loudspeaker looked like. This is a very famous model made by JBL called L100. And here we are in 2021, and they're making the exact same speaker. They have an L100 Classic, and it's essentially the same speaker. So in the time, a supercomputer went from a giant room in a laboratory to our pockets, speakers have stayed largely the same. So not sure exactly why that is, but the point here is that audio companies really don't innovate the products. They tend to get in the lane, stay in the lane, and kind of make the same thing over and over again. So in 2004, we actually thought a little bit differently, and we brought, for the first time, genuinely professional products to residential installed sound to address specifically high-end home theater. So if you want to learn a little bit more about that, our brochure can be downloaded from the website. And there's more sort of information regarding that thinking at proaudiotechnology.com. So in 2010, we started out as Professional Home Cinema. In 2010, we changed the brand name to ProAudio Technology to better fit the company's strategic direction. Namely, we wanted to get the word home out of the brand, and we wanted to get the word cinema out of the brand because we don't want to be pigeonholed into just residential and just theater. So to give some background, in 1989, I started a company called Hales Design Group and operated that company during the 90s, where I designed and manufactured and sold high-end hi-fi speakers, audiophile kind of loudspeakers. Enjoyed some pretty good success, got some notoriety in that market segment at a young age. But then in 2000, I was invited to join QSC Audio to establish for the first time a research and development department for loudspeakers. So prior to 2000, QSC had been the premium manufacturer of audio power amplifiers, but they hadn't made any speakers. And so I joined to develop that engineering effort for them. While I was there, I did a couple other things too, like got them that logo right there, and the speaker design language, which they're still using to this day with some pretty decent success. So in 2004, I left QSC to form the company we're talking about, ProAudio Technology, and really to address high-end residential. And then last year, started Theory Audio Design, and we're going to talk about that in the second half of the program. But really what Pro is a combination of the sort of product qualities or design priorities of both the kind of products that we developed at Hales, which were high-end hi-fi products where the primary focus is accuracy or sound quality is paramount. Of course, on commercial and professional applications at QSC, the design priorities are a little different. Dynamics is hugely important. Reliability and durability of the products is paramount. The show can't go down. The products have to work and not fail. High power, DSP is used extensively, and I was also exposed to audio over IP while I was at QSC as well. So what Pro is really a marriage of the two former lifetimes. So it's the accuracy and the fidelity that you would expect from a high-end hi-fi kind of loudspeaker combined with the physical durability and output capability of professional products. And then this year, we're going to be incorporating audio over IP as well. And so while at Hales and at Pro, we address residential very specifically. At QSC, it was commercial and professional. Theory is actually going to address both, and we'll spend some time talking about that. So really, this marriage of Hales and QSC, of the audiophile products and professional products combined, is quite unique. Typically, audio product designers, and particularly loudspeaker designers, tend to pick a market segment and stay there. They spend decades, sometimes their entire careers, either in the professional applications or automotive or consumer, but it's very rare for engineers to kind of cross market segments. So that makes us a little bit unique, a little bit uniquely positioned to bring some products that marry the best of both kinds of products together, and that's really what Pro is, and where we kind of stand alone in the market. So okay, what does this word professional mean, and why should you care? Really quickly, in the camera business, they've coined a name, prosumer, which identifies the products that land kind of in between truly professional grade products and consumer grade products. And so I'm pointing this out here because some of our competitors, which I think promote themselves as being professional grade, in our estimation are really more what we would call prosumer. They have kind of medium duty components and medium reliability and durability. And Pro, on the other hand, is genuinely professional grade, sort of the most robust components you can buy. You could literally do a Rolling Stones concert tour with Pro loudspeakers. They're that durable, and they have that kind of output capability. And then at the consumer end, like I'm showing on the left, we've basically, I think, all learned that consumer style speakers, cones and domes, really aren't suited for surround sound, reproduction of surround sound. They either can't do the dynamic range or they fail altogether. So we're kind of uniquely positioned as the only genuinely professional grade loudspeakers and amplifiers for this market segment. So more recently, in the last, I don't know, 3 or 4, maybe 5 years, some professional loudspeaker brands have tried to enter the residential space. These are 3 names that I'm aware of that you might be aware of. And really what they've done is they've taken their PA boxes and they've tried to market them into residential installed sound. In the case of Meyer, they've taken their commercial cinema products and they've tried to sell them into residential. And while that brings some of the qualities that we would want from the professional side, it brings some stuff that we actually don't want. So for example, if you look at these different product categories, consumer, prosumer, repurposed, professional, and then our products, on the consumer level, some examples I'm showing here are Triad or Paradigm, B&W, Steinway, Lingdorf, for example. You know, they're good at fidelity, and they're pretty good at, easy to fit and install into residential architecture, but they have poor reliability and they don't have the dynamic range required for surround sound. At the prosumer level, the examples I'm using are Procella, maybe JBL Synthesis, and Wisdom. They're better at dynamic range. They still struggle with reliability. It's still fairly easy to either shut them down or blow them up. They are good at fidelity, and they are those brands better suited for installation into residential architecture. So then when we get to the professional boxes, while they have the dynamic range and the durability we would want, they tend to sound like PA boxes, harsh and hard sounding, with a general lack of refinement, and they're actually terrible at integration into residential architecture. The form factors, the depths, the sizes, the shapes, which were developed for professional applications, just don't translate well into the rooms that we put these systems into. So anybody that's tried to integrate some of those products probably understands what I'm talking about. So this is where we are kind of unique. So we have the dynamic range and the durability and reliability of the professional brands there, and we combine it with the fidelity and the ease of installation of the prosumer and consumer products. So we've made professional products in form factors, shape, sizes, with mounting technologies that are absolutely optimized for the kind of construction that we encounter in high-end homes. And that's really sort of our claim to fame. So some of the past innovations that people might not be aware of, back in 2004, when we first started the company, we had extensive use of DSP for all the loudspeaker processing, and we were using at the time QSC amplifiers. And then in 2006, we introduced our first developed in-house Pro-branded 2-channel amps with built-in DSP that had to be programmed at the factory. Very unique back in 2006 for a residential audio product to have an outboard high power amplifier with DSP loudspeaker processing. 2010, we introduced the 2nd generation of amplifiers called PMA. They're still being made to this day. We're just phasing them out this year with a new product that we'll talk about. But this was 4 channels in 2U, even more advanced DSP, and this was the first model where you, as the integrators, could program the amps yourself for the different applications and the different loudspeaker models. And we had dedicated driver powers. So, for example, you can get an intelligent combination of powers within one chassis, 2 times 1000 plus 450 plus 200, for example, for driving a pair of subs and a bi-amp loudspeaker. 2013, we introduced a 1U 8-channel amplifier. This was several years before Sonance had theirs. 1500 watts in 1U, installer programmable, fairly new thinking, and we've just replaced that model last year with the new ALC 3316, which we'll talk about. That's 9 channels in 1U, 1800 watts, no fans, a 96K 32-bit DSP, so very high resolution DSP. It has the ability to drive subwoofers on the 300-watt channels, and there's built-in bass management, which is a unique feature for power amplifiers in this space. So for large systems where you want to bass manage the surround speakers into surround subwoofers, for example, it can be done right here in the amplifier. And then coming this summer, in just a few months, we have our new ALM loudspeaker controllers that will include Dante and AES67. So we'll spend some time talking about those. So the message here is that these products they're not rebranded third-party products. They're not repurposed products from other divisions within the company, or taken from the Studio Monitor Group or Crown, or borrowed from Lab Group and our badge stuck on. These were developed by us from scratch with this application in mind from the get-go. And then beginning with the ALC 3316, the partnership between Pro and Theory brands will become more extensive, because Theory will develop and manufacture the power amplifiers, or what we call loudspeaker controllers, for Pro. So on the loudspeaker side, historically in 2004, again, we introduced, the first sort of purpose-built professional loudspeakers for the home, even quad amplified loudspeakers, extensive use of DSP. In 2013, we introduced full weatherproofing. So if you have a project that requires speakers for an outdoor installation, whether it's a residence or a commercial space, we can make any of the wood loudspeakers fully weatherized so that they could be in the elements 24/7, rain or shine, snow, what have you. And we introduced a 24-inch sub, which is, I think, unique in the residential space. And anybody who has heard them will understand just how remarkable that subwoofer is. So in 2019, and more currently, we've introduced a new range of loudspeakers that are by far the most advanced and best performing speakers we've ever made. In fact, the sort of the best performing speakers I've ever designed in my 38 years of doing this. And we introduced aimable. So anybody who's working on Dolby Atmos systems, particularly DCI rooms, where aiming is required by Dolby, then we have a full range of products that have a bracket that allows them to be easily aimed at the listening position. So on the business end of things, some things that you may not be aware of, we have a 10-year loudspeaker warranty, which is approximately double what the competition has. We've never had published retail, so we do on our price sheet have a suggested selling range, but we don't publish retail prices on any of the models. So it's impossible to go online, find out what the price of a system should be, or price shop it. And that allows you guys, it protects you guys and allows you guys to sell it at the price that's appropriate for your client and your particular market segments. Everything is built to order in the USA. Again, very unique compared to the competition, with a 2-week lead time. So even though we're building the order, everything can be, even large orders can be built and processed in 2 weeks to ship. So in 2014, we did another unique thing that has been probably the most valuable sales tool we've ever had, which is our Southern California Experience Center, which we make available to dealers, integrators, and distributors. So if you're in town in California, or your client happens to be traveling in the US, and they have time and want to get exposed to what ProAudio Technologies is all about, this is the single most valuable thing you could do, is have them come visit us. We literally sell a system every time someone comes. 2015, we introduced what's called Pro Certified, which is really just our process for helping you guys design, sell, install, and deploy state-of-the-art systems. We help you from the beginning to the end. And in 2020, we made that included in North America, but the system, the factory calibration, is available for you guys outside the US at an additional cost. So, so this is what Pro Certified looks like at the beginning of the project. If you have plans, drawings, you supply those plans or drawings to us along with a targeted sort of budget range and some details about the room, the screen size, the number of rows of seating, things like that, your client's tastes. And then we'll come back to you with 2 to sometimes 3 to even maybe 4 different system designs that would be appropriate for the project. Oftentimes, that's just a matter of hours. With our time zone differences, that would probably, result in you receiving the proposals the following day. Nonetheless, it's very fast. We're very responsive and can turn out the designs very quickly. You then go sell the system. Hopefully you sell the biggest, most expensive one. Then when you're ready to order, you place the order. We take 2 weeks to manufacture the products. During that time, we provide you wiring diagrams, schematics, so that you can wire these sometimes very complex systems, in these large Atmos systems where we have 30 or more speakers and mini or bi and tri-amp. These systems are quite complex. We supply you with the wiring schematics. You install the equipment. We can provide tech support that whole time. And then at the end, we can come do on-site calibration, again, at additional cost, but we'll come out there and calibrate and certify the system for you. So the process looks like that. You design the system, you sell the system, we document it, you install it, and then we can calibrate it for you if you choose. So of those things, we're really only asking you to do those 2. And if you can get your client to visit us in Southern California, we'll even do the selling part too. And all you have to worry about is installing the products. So what these proposals look like or what they include, you get a cover sheet that indicates who you are, the project name, the design, the system configuration, and then the level of the proposal. So bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and the revision. You'll get a 3D rendering of the speaker layout showing all the models and where they're used within the surround sound system. You'll get a rendering of the amplifiers that are required for the system, including the number of total rack spaces required, including 1U spacers in between the amps, the total power consumption in BTU per hour and watts, as well as how many 120 volt circuits you need. So if you're in a territory where it's 240 volts, you just have to divide by 2. You then get a detailed price list showing your cost as well as the system retail, which you can specify what margin you want, and we will generate the price sheet based on your desired target margins for the amps and the loudspeakers. You get total system specs, which kind of quantifies the performance of the loudspeakers, how far away they can make reference level, the total system power, things like that. And then finally, we include in every package the product cut sheets for any of the models used in the system. And so again, with a typical project, you might get 3 or maybe even 4 of these packages. It also has the Pro brochure built in as an option too. So if you wanted the Pro brochure built in, we can add that to the proposal. Running out of time here. So the message here is, let us be the audio experts. Let us design the system. Let us help you deploy the system. Let us help you document the system. We want you guys to be the integration experts and not have to worry about audio. We want you to rely on us to help you with the audio. So I'm going to have to move through here fairly quickly. There's so many products that too many to talk about. We have 15 loudspeaker models from 5 to 15 inches and 9 subwoofer models from 10 inches up to the 24-inch monster. So some of the new products, which are by far objectively and subjectively the best we've ever made, we introduced a couple years ago. That's an actual on-axis unsmooth measured frequency response of the 12 SM, which is the speaker in the foreground there. That is the off-axis responses from 0 to 90 degrees, so extremely controlled dispersion. And then the waterfall plot kind of shows, you know, how clean the speaker is, how the sound decays in time. You want to see kind of a smooth sort of waterfall shape with no ridges or large peaks. And so I can tell you that not only does that speaker measure like that, but it actually sounds like it looks. This is the Theorem waveguide, which will appear in some new models coming out this year. Again, the measured performance is textbook perfect, nearly textbook perfect. And so the message here is we're, with all of our new documentation, we are publishing detailed engineering measurements of the product. And that's not true of the competition. So we encourage you to ask your other loudspeaker suppliers for detailed measurements of their products. And we suspect that they either won't do it or they won't be able to do it. For example, on the right there, that is the measured response of our SR26 IM in-wall loudspeaker. I think it's our most popular model, actually. And on the left, that's a competitor model measured under the same circumstances, which is just a very, very poor frequency response. And that product is about $15,000 retail, and our SR26 is more like $3,500 retail. So again, we're not afraid to put our measurements where our mouth is when it comes to the products. This new model, for example, is the first to incorporate the Theorem waveguide. It's available in two versions, sort of the vertical version you see large in the middle there, and the horizontal version, which is the drivers have been positioned to be optimal to use this product around video walls. We're starting to see more and more video walls installed, and the speaker can be used on the left, right, top, or bottom of a video wall. But what makes this speaker truly unique is you can kind of think of it as a very full range speaker with a built-in subwoofer. So for example, in this illustration, I'm showing how you can bass manage an SR26IM, the speaker we just saw the measurement for, being used as an Atmos speaker. You can redirect the bass of the lowest frequencies into the subwoofer section of the 2812 down below. So inside the ALC 3316, where we have built-in bass management, we can combine and steer the low frequencies from the little speaker on the ceiling to that large side speaker. You can also bring in LFE into the ALC 3316 and mix that in as well. And so you have a very full range side speaker that is also acting as a surround subwoofer for bass support, both to LFE and to the Atmos channel above it. So real fast, because I'm running out of time here. The ALC 3316, 8 balanced analog inputs and outputs. There's a 12-volt contact closure trigger. There are 9 channels so that you can run a 7.2 or a 5.2.2 system from this single 1U loudspeaker controller. 1,800 watts. There's a 96K 32-bit DSP engine inside. It's compatible with all Theory and Pro models, and it's also compatible with all third-party loudspeaker models as well. So any of our loudspeaker controllers can also power any other brand of loudspeakers should you have a need to do that and you wanted the bass management, for example. So I'll move quickly through some screenshots. Sophisticated PC-based interface, including all kinds of parametric EQ, tools, bass management. But more importantly, I don't want to have to run out of time with this. I want to talk about ALM. This is the new range of loudspeaker controllers coming this summer. They'll be available for both brands. There's 10 channels in 2U, 2 different models. There's, let's talk about the features fast first. On the front, there's a 5-inch capacitive touch interface with a rotary encoder and a USB jack so that you can put some music files on a USB stick and just stick it in the front of this thing and play them right from the unit itself. On the rear panel, you have 8 balanced mic line switchable inputs, including 48 volt phantom supply. You have 8, you actually have 10 analog outputs, either pre or post DSP. You have Dante and AES67 built in. You have another USB jack on the back, some GPIO for wall mount controls, things like that. IP, RJ45 for IP control and programming, and then you have 10 bridgeable amplifier output channels. So there are 2 models, 2710 with 2,700 total watts. It has 2 times 800 plus 8 times 150. And again, any of the channel pairs are bridgeable. So if you bridge them all, you would end up with 1 times 1500 watts plus 4 times 300 watts. And then the big boy is 10 times 800 watts, bridgeable to 5 times 1500 watts. So you have very flexible power levels. So with just the 2 SKUs, we have 150, 300, 750, and 1500 watts. And that's 1500 watts into 4 or 8 ohms, which is kind of cool. And then the other unique feature about them is you can drive low Z or 70 volt, 100 volt systems direct from this. It doesn't require a step up transformer to be built inside. We have enough voltage capability in there to drive the 70 volt systems direct. And so for very large distributed audio, you can drive something like 200 loudspeakers on this 1 2U chassis. So don't have time to spend much on here, but just some examples of the interface, analog input setup, input select. You can select from any of the Dante signals or any of the analog inputs. Extensive DSP on the input and output side, zones, priority routing, 3 levels of priority routing, automatic ducking, auto mic mixer, all the features you would need for any kind of commercial application, or on the residential side, some of those features are useful too. You can program the whole thing right from the front screen, or that same interface will jump into your phone or on an iPad or a PC, for example. But extremely powerful, all kind of encompassing unit. And you no longer have to buy an outboard multi-channel DSP box and then drag your signal path and design the whole thing and then connect that to another amplifier and then get your Dante sources somehow injected into the system. It can all be done with just these units themselves.
Oh, let me interrupt for a second.
Sure.
Importante, solamente para que sepan, esto no es un decodificador como tal. Esto se usa a la par de un decodificador, y este sirve de la parte de amplificación para un equipo. Te permite hacer todo tipo de cambios, de ajustes de DSP, etcétera. O sea que el decodificador sigue siendo necesario, el que sea, la marca que sea, Rotel, por ejemplo, y este es un controlador de las bocinas como tal de los modelos de ProAudio Technology. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Real fast, a lot of people don't realize, I think they think of Pro as kind of a premium, very expensive brand, but actually our entry level 7.2 or 5.2.2 Atmos system with a single ALC 3316, the speakers you see in the rendering with the 2 subwoofers, that's approximately $16,000 US retail. So we span sort of from 16,000 right up through a sort of a typical system here that's 80,000 retail to something, you know, big. We're seeing more and more of these really, really big jobs now, where this example is 15.8.8 and roughly $300,000. So another example of how a ALM might be used. In this example, I'm using a restaurant, but it could easily be a large, you know, residential distributed audio system. But really quickly, I'm showing 3 different dining rooms with 8 full range speakers and a subwoofer in each room. and then a bar area that has 8 full range speakers and 3 subwoofers, all being powered by one ALM 2710. There's 38 total speakers, no transformers required, and you could get up to 54 speakers on this thing, or even 60 speakers on this thing, before you would ever have to engage a transformer-based system, which you can do with the Theory loudspeaker product. So kind of unique because all the bass management's being done in this unit. You could literally stick a USB key in this thing and play the music right from there, and you'd have an entire restaurant distributed audio system with just a single piece of electronics. So real fast summary, 100% design developed by us for this specific application. We don't rebrand or repurpose any products. We're really the only genuinely professional product developed for residential install, and we can talk about that if anybody wants to challenge that. We have very advanced features now, even including Dante, extensive use of DSP, no published retail, and factory calibration available at an additional cost to make sure that the system gets deployed 100%. Everything can be weatherized, made in the USA, 10-year loudspeaker warranty, and kind of established as the premier brand of this type of product. We have a lot of very powerful celebrities, world leaders, things like that are pro clients. So here's some contact info. We'll play this again at the end after the theory part of the presentation because the contact names are all the same. So unless somebody has questions, I'm going to switch now to theory in an effort to finish up in time to get some questions. So the background for theory is largely the same. The idea here is that I spent some time at QSC. I spent some time in the high-end audio business. I've spent 18 years with Pro in residential high-end install. And what theory is really everything I've done in my 38-year career combined to address residential, but also you'll see their commercial is even larger because we intend to target commercial quite directly and quite deliberately beginning later this year. So looking forward, what we have right now, I don't know if you're familiar with the products at all, but we've introduced some soundbars, some on-wall loudspeakers, some subwoofers, and a loudspeaker controller that targets sort of media room applications in residential, and then also some high-end commercial specific applications. This year, beginning next month, we're introducing a range of architectural in-wall products, full range in-wall loudspeaker and some subwoofers. Followed shortly thereafter by several in-wall loudspeakers and with pendant option. These are not your typical cones and domes kind of thing. All these products have compression drivers, very high efficiency, very high maximum output capability. They can scale from background music all the way to foreground music. You don't need to have 2 separate systems. The architectural products have the 70 volt, 100 volt transformers built in, but as I mentioned with the ALM loudspeaker controllers, for most jobs you would not ever need to even use the transformers. So ALM again will be sort of the nucleus of the theory ecosystem. We intended at Infocom this year to introduce Theory Professional, and that will likely get delayed until ISE just simply because they moved the Infocom show to within just a few weeks of CEDIA, and it just wouldn't be physically possible or feasible for us to do 2 shows in such a short period of time. But by this time in the fall, we'll have everything you need to do advanced distributed audio systems, either residential or commercial. So that shows the Infocom sort of launch. And then sort of in the future, we have a way to simplify the sort of media rooms, this surround sound systems by being able to do the decoding in the loudspeaker controller. That's something we're looking at for next year. So some common technology, which you can read about this on the website, so I won't spend any time on it. We'll talk more specifically about some products. So this in-wall speaker, which will ship next month or late next month, very high output, 117 dB SPL, very high efficiency, 94 dB on the low frequency section and 108 dB on the tweeter section. 70 volt transformer built in, but again, only needed on the very, very largest systems. And it's also weather resistant. So that's the other unique thing about the Theory products, is they're designed for indoor and outdoor use, both commercial and residential feature set. So a series of in-wall subwoofers for 2x4 construction, 2x6 construction, as well as a ceiling mount 9-inch deep model for hanging in the rafters or mounting in a residential ceiling or mounting to a wall inside of a restaurant or bar, a hotel, club, whatever. Again, very high output, 127 dB max output. So Theory products look like lifestyle products or residential audio products, but they're internally, they're built with high output professional components and high power. So they will scale, they will do the dynamic range of movie soundtracks, and they will also do foreground music. They could even do, I mean, you could use these to do sound reinforcement inside of a restaurant or a coffee house or somewhere where you might have live music on the weekends or something like that, which I think in your territories, I think that's probably something that's quite common and desirable. So the ceiling speaker is a 4-inch coax, a 6-inch coax, again, compression drivers. This is a common magnet coaxial driver, quite unique, very wide dispersion, very high output capability. The 6-inch two-way is 112 dB max SPL. So this is not a Sonance or Origin or Speakercraft kind of speaker. This is a very capable high output loudspeaker, weather resistant, 70 volt transformers built in. They can, you'll see later, you can shroud them in housing and use them as a pendant. So they double as ceiling speakers as pendants. The ALM we talked about earlier, this is kind of the nucleus of everything, with Dante, the USB interface, all of the goodies on the back, and the same interface as the Pro version. The difference being when you start up the ALM, it asks you what your application is, and you select between surround sound and distributed audio. And if you select surround sound, the software populates the features that are that are appropriate for that application. If you select distributed audio, you get the other features such as ducking and things like that that you wouldn't really need in a surround system. The current SB25, which is just an amazing little loudspeaker, it's getting a lot of notoriety in the press, both as a stereo speaker as well as a surround sound media room kind of speaker. We have some accessories which allow you to not only hang it on the wall, it ships with some Z-clips that let you hang it like a picture on the wall, but we also have an adapter plate that adapts Omni mount and adaptive technology mounts. So there's a couple different ball mounts, a ceiling mount, pan and tilts, wall mount and ceiling mount. So this little speaker is very full range, very rich sounding for bars, restaurants, distributed audio. This thing would just kill any of the normal Electro Voice, QSC, JBL boxes, and you would need way fewer of them to fill a restaurant. Soundbars, same thing. This is essentially 3 of those little loudspeakers in one bar. We have sizes to match 65, 75, and 85-inch TVs. We've already got rave reviews on the Theory systems, surround systems, and I encourage you to go to the website and click the links and read because we're kind of redefining what the soundbar market is, and that's the pendant housings for the ceiling speakers. So the idea here is, when we first launched the business, we invited a bunch of journalists to our experience center here in Southern California. We wanted to try to convey what Theory was going to be, because we had showed at CEDIA soundbar-based surround systems, and so that everybody kind of thought that the Theory was going to be a soundbar company, and we wanted to make sure that they understood that that was just not at all what the path we intended to take. In fact, we're much more ambitious than that. And so I tried to come up with a brand analogy, and the best one I could come up with was Porsche. And the reason why is, we're all familiar with Mercedes-Benz and Porsche. Mercedes makes roadsters, coupes, sedans, and SUVs. They have 20, at least in North America, they have 28 different models. They have actually 8 different SUVs alone. Porsche makes all those same cars. They make roadsters, they make coupes, they make sedans, and they make SUVs, and they do it with 6 models. And so, and I would argue that the Porsche examples are better than any of the competition. So what Theory intends to be is like Porsche. In other words, a premium brand of a small number of very capable products that will do almost anything. And so what you get is you get an ecosystem that looks like that, and it doesn't look like a lot of products, but there's almost not a single commercial or residential installed sound system of small to medium size that we can't do. And even if you had like an amusement park or something where you needed hundreds of speakers, one ALM 7510 can drive something crazy like 225 of the 6-inch two-way speakers on 70-volt system. So that's really what we're doing with Theory. We make a fairly dramatic promise. These are some quotes from the recent reviews: jaw-dropping, miracle, world-class, blown away. And our promise is that we will deliver the best performance available in any product category we enter. And that's a big, bold claim, but I think we've shown in the soundbar and surround sound residential space that we can do it. And we are going to take that same sort of performance advantage into the architectural products and into the Dante-enabled distributed audio in both commercial and residential. So anyway, I think I finished just in time to have a few questions, and that's it.
You did excellent. There's no questions from the audience as far as I can see, other than impressive, which is very evident. So very good. I did want to point out a few things in Spanish, if you allow me.
Sure.
Como pudieron ver, amigos, la parte de ProAudio Technology realmente es para teatros de alto rendimiento. Tienen productos de todo tipo para aplicaciones de teatro, tanto comerciales como residenciales. No solamente bocinas, bajos, sino también sus propios amplificadores y procesadores para sus bocinas. Recuerden que por el momento hace falta un decodificador externo, pero están trabajando en la posibilidad de tener un decodificador próximamente. Eso es uno. Segundo, la parte de Theory Audio Design no es solamente para aplicaciones de teatro con barras de sonido, high performance, etcétera, sino también tiene un sinnúmero de productos para instalación sobrepuesta en superficies, colgantes, metidas en techo o pared, etcétera, para espacios como bares, clubes nocturnos y otro tipo de lugares muy conocidos por todos, pero pueden hacer muchos tipos de proyectos con ambas marcas. No se limiten solamente a proyectos residenciales. Yo sé que es un foro o una tarde dedicada a teatros, pero con ambas marcas pueden hacer muchas cosas. Estamos a la orden siempre para cualquier pregunta. Comuníquense con nosotros para proyectos. Los diseños los hace directamente ProAudio Technology de la mano nuestra. Así que le entregamos un proyecto ya diseñado rápidamente, probablemente tarde un par de horas diseñar un proyecto para que puedan tenerlo presente en sus cotizaciones. Así que, thank you, Paul. Thanks, Mark. I do have a question here. They're telling me the SB25s, they want them in white, please, not only in black.
Yeah, well, that's great. We did introduce them in both colors, actually, and for a long time you could see them on the website. There might be some lingering images there. They do look kind of cool in white, but when we surveyed our customers, at least at the time, the demand for white was so low relative to black that it just wasn't feasible to have white. However, that could change, and if you have more customers, particularly in Latin America, that need white, then if we perceive the demand and we can meet our MOQs, we will introduce that model in white. We just need more requests for it at this point.
Excellent. Ya lo saben, amigos, cualquier cosa estamos a la orden. Tienen una serie de productos que vienen próximamente, así que estén pendientes. Estaremos ayudándolos a ustedes con todas esas necesidades. Again, Paul, Aaron, Mark, thanks. Anything you guys want to add? Please go ahead.
No, I might have the contact. I thought I had the contact info. I can put that up so
yes,
that.
Please. I think it was part of the ProAudio technology. There it is. You have it there too.
Yeah. So Mark M. Goldman at either proaudiotechnology.com or theoryAudiodesign.com. Aaron for marketing at proaudiotechnology.com or theoryAudiodesign.com. And on the technical side, C. Farley at those same domains. So feel free to reach out to us or reach out to us through Polaris, and we'll get you whatever you need.
Perfect.
And the
Thank you very much.
only thing I would add is follow us on social as well, so you guys can see what we're up to all the time. We're really active on Facebook and LinkedIn, and Instagram is starting up as well. So we'd love to see your projects and engage with you there.
Perfect.
Thank you very much, guys. Señores, para los que continúan con nosotros, pasamos a una presentación de una marca nueva, muy especial también en el mismo segmento de teatros en casa y soluciones de audio hi-fi. Así que en el chat está el link para el siguiente webinar. Los esperamos entonces. Estamos iniciando ya en breves minutos. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks all. See ya.